Hi everyone, my name is Michael, and today I'm very excited to introduce you to CommunityHQ, the Notion workspace that I use every single day to manage my business. I've intentionally crafted this system to bring together all the different moving pieces that come with running a business or a community into one streamlined, comprehensive place. My intention with today's video is to simply give you a tour of some of the features that CommunityHQ has to offer so that you can decide for yourself whether this is something for you. So let's get started. As you can see here, we have our directory. This is a place where we can keep track of all the different parts of our workspace. Essentially, it's our home page. And so there's a few different components that I want to share with you today, and I'm going to start with relations. So arguably one of the most important parts of a community is the people. And one of the most important parts of running any business is managing your relationships with people. And so that's where the HQ CRM comes in. This is a lightweight, simple CRM that you can use to manage all the information about people in your community, as well as people outside of your community, perhaps other businesses or other communities that make up your ecosystem. So in this example, we just have 3 people in our CRM to keep it simple. And I'm going to pull up Grace Angel as an example. So Grace, we can tell, is a facilitator, and she is associated with the organization Cloud Yoga Community. There's a bunch of other properties there that we could add to. For example, we could add a meeting here. Let's say we had a meeting, we could add that there. And perhaps if Grace is associated with a location, like sample location 1 in this case, we can add that here too. And so what you might be seeing here is something really interesting about Notion, which is that essentially when you have a database, you can actually connect it to another database. And so anytime you see a little arrow like you do here under the organization column, it means that there's a relation happening. And so in this case, Grace Angel is related to Cloud Yoga Community because she works there. And so the cool thing is we can actually open that up, and now we have our company database open and accessible. So here we have more information about Cloud Yoga Community. We can see that Grace works there. It pulls up her email automatically. We can see that they are a sponsor, and there's a bunch of other information pieces that you can see there. So going back now to our dashboard, you'll see that that's where the company database comes in. And so essentially we have 2 databases, one for individuals and one for companies, and they work together harmoniously to help us understand our relations. In addition to those 2, we also have an affiliate database and a sponsorship gift database. So both affiliate partnerships and sponsorship partnerships can be really important when building community. And whether your community has this already or not, this is a great feature to have because it's something that you can grow into. And essentially, each of these databases has additional information to track affiliate information as well as sponsorship information and gifts. And this is really critical when building community. So the next most important thing I want to show you, in my opinion, is the events database. And so one of the most challenging things to do as a community builder is to run consistent events. At least that's what I've heard from the people that I've been chatting with. And so here you have access to the events database that I've used for the last 2 to 3 years to manage events with my community. So taking a quick look here, you can see that we have 3 sample events. We've got your first festival, your first breathwork ceremony, as well as your first seminar. And so I want to walk you through the process of what it would look like to create a new event. So just like with any other database in Notion, you just have to pull up to the right here and click on the blue arrow. So here you'll see that I've actually already created some templates. So these are events that I might run regularly, right? And you can fill your own in here as well. This is fully customizable. Pretty much everything you see in this video is fully customizable. And so let's just, as an example, launch a new seminar. So we're going to click on that. It's going to bring open this new window here. We can click some of the information. So let's just say it's in Vancouver and we have a wider community audience. Let's set the date to be at the end of the month. And then let's change the status to, let's say that we're waiting for facilitator info and the graphics are in progress. So there's lots of other information, again, that you could add here about this event, but let's just keep it simple for now. So one thing that I want to bring your attention to is the fact that in Notion, you can actually view the same data in different ways through views, which is really helpful sometimes. So here we can actually see the list of our events. So we just created this new seminar here at the top called Seminar. But we can also click on this full calendar view, which is going to bring up the same information that we see in the previous list, but it's going to be in an actual calendar form. So if I scroll down now on this calendar, I'll be able to see that because that event was set for May 31st, you can see it pop up here. And of course, if you have a lot of events that you're running, this calendar will hopefully look a lot busier than this one. So let's go back now to our dashboard. And I want to share with you a few things, or I'm going to tell you about the other features here under events. So as you might imagine, with building a community or any business, standards of procedures are really important. And so with events, that's also the case. So here with your host outlines and facilitator outlines, these are databases where you can keep track of the different SOPs for people that are going to be facilitating your events. This can be really useful if you want to grow and expand to offer more events over time. And at the bottom here, we have a venue database, which, as you can imagine, is just a simple place for you to keep track of all the different locations and venues that you use to run your events, because usually it's not just one. All right, so now we're going to go back up to the top here. We're going to look at programs and productivity, and here we have a meetings database, which is also very helpful. So hopefully you don't have too many meetings as part of your work, but for the ones that you do have, this is a great place to keep track of some of the important information. So here is, as an example, we can pull up this meeting with Zach, and we can see the date, we can see who was part of the meeting, what type of meeting it was, and a few other relations as well. So was this related to an event, or which company, or is this related to a project, which we'll get into in a second here. So you can keep track of all your meetings here. And let's talk quickly about the Team Task Manager. So the Team Task Manager is essentially a product or project roadmap for your community. There's lots of tasks that might be happening at once in your community, and so it's important to keep all of those organized in one place. There's lots of other specialized project management tools out there, like Asana as one example, or Monday. But the nice thing about this is that since you're using Notion for a lot of these other components of your community, this just brings everything into one place. And so here you can see we've got 3 sample tasks. One of them is a project, one of them is a task, and the other one is a evergreen task, which is just something that is ongoing. So let's take a look at sample project 1, just to give you an idea of what that might look like. So again, you have a similar pane that will pop up, and here you can type the different properties that relate to this project. So in this case, we are indicating that it is a project, and let's say maybe we can change the status to ongoing, because as you can see, we want to keep track of different layers and different stages in a project's journey. So let's say this one's ongoing. We can click who's responsible. Right now it's just going to be me. And we can also choose the start date. Let's say we choose the start date to be the 7th, and then the due date could be at the end of the week. We can add a category here, and obviously you can add your own categories. And then down here is where you'd actually add all the information about the project. So here we could write down the summary, some of the requirements, designs, resources, etc. Now, I want to show you again another cool example of utilizing a view in Notion. And so we have the simple list here, but let's say we wanted to see something more in a linear fashion. So we'd be able to open up this project roadmap. And right now this is October 2023. So let's click today. And here you can see that project that we just created with the due date at the end of the week. You can see that it shows itself here. And the really nice thing about this view is that if you have multiple projects, they all kind of layer themselves together in a way that helps you see them in a linear fashion. So this is the Team Task Manager. There's lots more to explore there, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to stop there. And let's move on to content. So there's a course database here. If your community is at the stage where you're offering education or courses, this can be a nice place to keep track of all of that information. And then your marketing calendar here is a place where you can keep track of some posts. And so this could be built out to be used comprehensively for your entire social media strategy if you wanted to. Right now, it's in a simple phase where we just have a few different post types, but essentially you can create as many different post types if you want as you wanted. So here we have an example, a new illustration post. So let's pull that up. Here we can check on the status of the post. So we could say that it's a draft. We can say that we want to post it to Instagram, and the content type is maybe going to be a grid square image. There's lots of other properties that you can add here, and there's also lots of area there's lots of room down here below for you to add more information. So again, you can represent those posts in a calendar view or a Gantt chart, lots of different ways to represent all of that. And this is just an opportunity for you to keep track of all of the different posts that you might want to make in one place. So we've covered events, we've covered relations, we've covered content, and we talked a little bit about programs and productivity. The last thing I want to share with you is that there's also a business dashboard here. And so I'm not going to go into all the details because there's quite a lot here, but essentially this is a place where you can store all of the important metrics and KPIs for your business. I really recommend that any business does this, keep track of like weekly or monthly KPIs, and also keep track of your quarterly goals too. I like to do this in Notion, and I've created this business dashboard to do that. There's a scorecard there, and there's also some tables to add your goals. And of course, you can customize that to be catered to your community and your offerings, but that's just something that I wanted to share. So as you can see, there's lots of different components that make up CommunityHQ. And while I don't have time in this video to go into too much depth, I did want to share that for anyone out there who's new to Notion, or anyone that would simply like support in implementing the system into your existing business, I have included a support section in CommunityHQ, which has dozens of video tutorials that I've made myself, guiding you through each different feature and database of the workspace. In addition to those tutorial videos that I made, there's also dozens, if not hundreds, of tutorial videos on Notion that can be found for free online. So I hope that this has given you some more information about CommunityHQ and allowed you to understand whether it's a good fit. If you'd like to learn more about CommunityHQ, just head to www.communitycompass.ca.